Friends, welcome to our today's session. We'll continue our discussion on capital gain. Some of the tax planning concepts we have understood in our previous session. Those are few basic concepts only we have discussed. We know what is capital asset. That concept we have discussed thoroughly. That's important because first of all, we have to know what is capital asset. Only when there is a capital asset and there is a transfer, then only capital gain may arise. That concept is over. What is capital asset? We had already discussed. Today, we'll try to learn how to classify that capital asset into two things. One is short-term capital asset and long-term capital asset. Once we know that, after that, we'll be saying how to know that whether there is a transfer or not. Then only we'll be deciding whether capital gain is arising out of that transfer or not. Let me share the screen with you right now. I think you are able to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So previous class I had told you about the basis of charges, right? Gain arising from transfer of capital asset during previous year chargeable to tax under the head capital gain. And in that context, we have understood that few things are important. First of all, there should be a capital asset. Okay. Second point is that capital asset should be transferred. And the transfer should have been taken place during the previous year. And there should be any profit or gain arising as a result of transfer. And if such profit and gain is not exempted under certain sections, then it is chargeable to tax. That concept we have understood, and we also know the definition of capital asset, which is given in section. Which section it is given? Can anyone tell me? Definition of capital asset?
Section 214.
214. And we know capital asset means property of any kind held by the assessee, whether or not connected with his business or profession. It also includes securities held by a FII, that is foreign institutional investor, which is invested in such securities in accordance with the regulation made under SEBI Act. These 2 points we have discussed. And we also know the capital asset does not include stock in trade, consumable stores, raw material, which are held for the purpose of business or profession. It does not include personal effects like wearing apparel, furniture, which are for personal use. But personal effect excludes these 6 items like jewelry, archaeological collections, drawings, paintings, sculptures, any work of art. All these things are excluded from personal effect. Consequently, these 6 items are treated as capital asset. Okay. And what is the meaning of jewelry? Previous class we had discussed. And capital asset does not include agricultural land. This is also one more thing. Agricultural land means agriculture does not include agricultural land, means here rural agricultural land. It does not include agricultural land, but agricultural land which are located in the jurisdiction of a municipality, municipal corporation, NSC, cantonment board, they are capital asset. They are not excluded. Okay. Or which are located within 2 kilometers from the local limits of a municipality, cantonment road, which are having a population of more than 10,000 but not exceeding 1 lakh, that is included. Or within 6 kilometers from municipality or cantonment board having population of more than 1 lakh rupees but not exceeding 10 lakh rupees, that is also excluded. Okay, so not being more than 8 kilometers. That means if it is beyond 8 kilometers, that will be considered as rural agricultural land. But within 8 kilometers, they are capital asset. Not being 8 kilometers from the local limits of any municipality or cantonment road, which has a population of more than 10 lakh rupees. So if you analyze that thing, you have to see what is the distance of that agricultural land. If the population of the nearest municipality is more than 10,000 rupees, but up to 1 lakh, if it is situated within 2 kilometers from that, then that is a capital asset. If it is beyond 2 kilometers, okay, then it is not a capital asset. And if the population of the municipality is more than 1 lakh, but up to 10 lakh, okay, and the land is situated within 6 kilometers. Within 6 kilometers means that is a capital asset. If it beyond that, that is not a capital asset. And if the population is more than 10 lakh and the land is situated within 8 kilometers, then it is a capital asset. If it is more than 8 kilometers, then it is equal to more than 8 kilometers. That is not a capital asset. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If it is less than or equal to 8 kilometers, then that is a capital asset. Okay, that will not be considered as agricultural land. Have you remembered this thing? Can you remember this? This is important. Location is important because accordingly you can decide, you can make your investment plan. Suppose you are planning a land, you have to see where it is located. If it is located in such a area where it can be considered as an urban agricultural land, then whenever you will be selling that asset, there will be capital gain. Okay, so this is one more tax planning about the location. When we are making investment in a capital asset, we have to see where the land is located. If it is beyond that, if it is a rural agricultural land, then you are out of purview of capital gain, out of purview of capital gain tax on that. Are you understanding it? That is why location is. Okay. First of all, understanding the concept of capital asset is important because if you are investing somewhere which is not a capital asset, then there cannot be any capital gain. This location is important. Are you able to see it? Are you able to remember it? If you are remembering, let me ask you a question. First question you see, let us say nearest population of the nearest municipality is 9,000 and the aerial distance is 1 kilometer. And here distance means the aerial distance. So whether it is a capital asset or not. First case 1, is 9,000. Can you tell me, is it a capital asset or not? It is located within 1 kilometer.
No, sir.
Exactly, it is no. It is not. Okay. Then next is population is 12,000 and distance is 1.5 kilometers. That means population is exceeding 10,000, but distance is 1.5 kilometers. Can you answer?
No.
Yes. Why it is capital asset? It is within 2 kilometers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, within 2 kilometers. It is. Third case you see, it is more than 10 lakh. Third case you see, it is 11 lakh. And the shortest distance is 2 kilometers. Answer is again is. Fourth case, 80,000. It is 3 kilometers. Answer is no. Okay. So it is more than 10,000 to 1 lakh. So distance is 3 kilometers. No. Fifth case, within 4 kilometers. Yes. Sixth case, 5 kilometer. Population is 12 lakh. Yes. Sixth case, population is only 8,000 within 6 kilometers. No. Seventh, 4 lakh, 7 kilometer. No. Okay. Eighth case, 10 lakh 50,000, 8 kilometer. Yes. Now, ninth case, 15 lakh population and the location is 9 kilometers. So it is no, it is beyond 8 kilometers. Okay, it is just 8 kilometers. Therefore, it is included above 10 lakh, just 8 kilometers. It is included. Okay, right here 4 lakh meaning beyond 6 lakh beyond 6, so only within 6 kilometers it will be included. Therefore, it is no, it's not a capital asset. Population is only 8,000. So within 6 kilometers, no, it's not. Okay, right? Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
So you can check this answer. We have discussed that. And we also know capital gain, capital asset doesn't include 6% gold bonds, special bearer bond, and gold deposit bonds. These things we have discussed in your previous class. So if you summarize what we have learned in your previous class, so this is the thing, that capital asset means property of any kind held by the assessee, whether or not connected with his business or profession. Any securities held by FII which has invested in such securities as per RBI regulation. These are the two things, but these are the exclusions we have seen: stock in trade, consumable stores, raw materials held for business purposes, personal effects excluding some items. Rural agricultural land is not a capital asset. 6% gold bond, 7% gold bond, national defense gold bond, special bearer bond, then gold deposit bonds. So these are exclusions from the property. And these are the exclusions for personal effect, jewelry, archaeological collections, drawing, paintings or sculptures, and artwork. So this is up to this we have understood. Having understood what is capital asset, next step is that we will see how to classify them into short-term capital asset and long-term capital asset. Also, earlier we have discussed this concept, that is the difference between capital gain and capital asset. We have already discussed that thing. But today we'll be focusing on this aspect: what is short-term capital asset and what is long-term capital asset. Accordingly, there can be a short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain. First, we'll see what is short-term capital asset and long-term capital asset. I would like to take you to two sections. Here is one section. Can you read it out? Which section I'm referring to? Which defines short-term capital asset? Can you read it here?
Section 242A.
Yeah. So first of all, we'll go to section 242A to understand the meaning of short-term capital asset. Thereafter, we'll be going to which section? 29A. 229A. So first, let us go to 249A, then go to 229A. Okay. Have you remembered these two sections? Section 2, clause 42A, then clause 29A. Okay. Okay. Now, how can I check that? I have to, I have to visit to the website of Income Tax Department now. Anyone can tell me the website address? As you can see, www.incometaxindia.gov.in. Where I can get those provisions. I am taking you to Acts. Here you see there's a link on Act. Let us go to Income Tax Act. Have you remembered the sections? Section 2 I am taking to. Okay. Which section? Which clause have you remembered?
Section 242A.
42A. First, let me take you to section 242A. I think you are able to see it.
Yes, sir.
Now, you see, this is the section, but there are some provisions also. We have to see, we need to understand all these things. But broadly, we have to understand short-term capital asset means a capital asset held by the assessee for not more than 36 months immediately preceding the date of transfer. Okay. If it is held not more than 36 months, that means it is held up to 36 months, then it is a short-term capital asset. That's it. Okay. But now you see there are certain provisions provided that in case of securities other than units listed in recognized stock exchange, there are some exceptions here. Instead of 36 months, we have to refer to here, we have to understand it as 12 months. In case of certain assets, 12 months. Okay. Right. And some other cases, we'll see, I'll show you. Here you see, on here you can see how many months here it is written, 24 months. So normally we have seen 36 months, but in some cases 12 months, some cases 24 months. So I'll be explaining you all these things. Okay, so this is, you got some idea about 42A, right? Now what is the next section? 42A talks about short-term capital asset. Now next section we have to go backward. You can tell me what is long-term capital asset? What is the section?
29A.
Yes, I'm taking you, I'm showing you the 29. Once you've understood short-term capital asset, it is very easy to understand long-term capital asset, because you can read that it is only one line definition. Can you read it? 29A. Can you read it?
Long-term capital asset means a capital asset which is not a short-term capital asset.
So it is very simple. Now, if it is, once we know it is what is a short-term capital asset, then if it is not a short-term capital asset, then it is a long-term capital asset. Okay. So what I showed you in the provisions in the WARE Act, now I will be showing you same thing in the PPT. Now I will look at this. Going to share the screen with you. Now you have to remember this. Now you see, as per section 242A, as you have already said, short-term capital asset means a capital asset held by an assessee for not more than 36 months immediately preceding the date of transfer. Same thing, what was written there, I am telling you the exactly same thing. So what you have to remember is, it should be not more than 36 months. Up to 36 months, it is fine. Exactly 36 months, it is fine. Still, it is short. But the moment it is, let us say, 36 months and 1 day, that is more than 36 months. Okay. Then it is not a short-term capital asset. If it is not a short-term capital asset, then what? It's a long-term capital asset. Okay. Now, if you refer to section 229A, it says long-term capital asset means a capital asset which is not a short-term capital asset. That means if it is held for more than 36 months, it is long-term. It is not more than 36 months, it is short-term. Law has not said 36 months or less. The wordings used in the law is that not more than 36 months. So you have to remember like this, it is not more than 36 months. It is short-term. It is more than 36 months, it is long-term. Okay? Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But this is the basic things. I had already shown you there are certain additional provisions to that. Right? So let us go through that aspect. These are called certain exceptions. Okay. In fact, 2 exceptions we will be learning. And we have already seen some cases 12 months, some cases 24 months. Is it? Let us see exception number 1. What is first exception? A security other than a unit. You might be knowing what is an unit. Unit is also a security which is issued by mutual funds. In mutual funds, what they happen, they receive contributions from the investors and they issue them certain units. So a security other than a unit which is listed in the recognized stock exchange, or a units of an equity oriented fund. Equity oriented fund means where money is invested in equity shares, not in debt instruments. So units of an equity oriented fund, or units of Unit Trust of India, or a zero coupon. So these are the, you see how many things I told you? 4 things. Okay, securities which are listed, that is listed securities. Then units of equity oriented fund, units of UTI, then zero coupon. Okay, in these 4 situations, they will be considered as long-term capital asset if they are held for more than 12 months immediately preceding the date of transfer. The date of transfer is important, but immediately preceding the date of transfer, if it is held for more than 12 months, then it is long term. Okay, if it is not more than 12 months, then it is short term. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So normal provision we have seen 36 months. But these are the 4 things I am saying. In case the 36 months shall be read as 12 months. Okay, if it is more than 12 months, it is long term. if it is up to 12 months, it is. Okay, this is past exception. Past exception is applicable to these four kind of capital assets: securities, listed securities, units of equity oriented fund, and units of unit trust of India, and zero coupon. Is this part is clear? Past exception is over. Okay. And this long-term, short-term classification is important for us, and that will also help us to plan our tax. How it will be helpful? Because tax rates are normally less in case of long-term capital gain, and it is more in case of short-term capital gain. Okay, normally. So one may like to convert a short-term capital gain into long-term capital gain by holding it for a little longer period. Understood? Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
The next exception is exception 2. Exception 2 is applicable, as you can see, first of all, for these two situations. One is share of a company not being a shares listed in recognized stock exchange. That means here we are talking about unlisted shares. Okay, unlisted shares. Secondly, immovable property being land, building, or both. So in case of land, building, or both, or unlisted shares, these two cases, they will be treated as short-term capital asset if they are held by the assessee for not more than how many months?
24 months.
24 months. That means if it is more than 24 months, it is long-term. If it is up to 24 months, then it is short-term. Okay. So unlisted securities, unlisted shares, movable property, land and building, we have to see criteria is 24 months. And these 5 assets, these 4 assets, it is 12 months. And for all other things, it is 36 months. Okay. On that basis, we will be able to classify the asset, whether it is a long-term or short. If we summarize all these things, you can go through this. Short-term capital asset, if it is held for less than 12 months, and long-term capital asset, if it is held for less than or equal to 12 months, and long-term capital asset, if it is 12 months for these assets. What are these assets? 12 months. Securities other than unit listed in recognized stock exchange. Okay, units of equity oriented fund, units of UTI, and zero coupon. Next is short-term capital asset if is held for less than or equal to 24 months, and long-term capital asset is more than 24 months. These are the 2 assets covered here. Unlisted shares, then land, building, or both. For all other things, it is short-term capital asset if it is held for less than or equal to 36 months, and long-term capital asset if it is held for more than 36 months. Okay, like units of debt-oriented fund, unlisted securities other than shares, right? Other capital asset for all other things, 36 months criteria is applicable. Is it clear to you? Will you be able to now distinguish whether it's a short-term capital asset, whether it's a long-term capital asset? That distinction is important for us. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now have a look at this particular slide. This summarizes all that what we have learned now. Okay. Period of holding. So understood this. I have already shown you section 242A. Anytime you can refer to that. So this is a summary of section 242. With this, you see capital gain, capital asset. What is capital asset? We have understood, and we are now able to classify that capital asset into short-term and long. All these things are important because accordingly we can find out whether there is a short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain. Having understood this, next concept which is important for us is to understand the meaning of transfer. That is also extremely important for us. Today I will introduce you to that concept. What is the meaning of transfer? Then we will again see other related issues. So let me now show you what is the meaning of transfer. First, for that thing, well, let me show you the slide first. Yeah, but friends, before going to that transfer, or like this, you see, to understand the concept of transfer, which section we have to go? Section 247. Is it 247? You see, it describes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sequences. And it's also inclusive definition. That means transfer includes all this. I'll be explaining you that concept of transfer. But before explaining that, one more thing is important for us. As I told you, that first of all, we need to know whether it is a long-term capital asset or short-term capital asset. But there are some peculiar situations where we have to take little extra care to understand whether it is a long-term or short-term capital gain, and how to calculate that period of holding. That period of holding is important because on that basis we are deciding whether it's a long-term or short-term. So these are some situations you have to keep it in mind. First of all, where shares are held in a company which is in liquidation. Let us say you are holding equities of equity shares of a company and the company is under liquidation. Okay, how to compute period of holding? Company is under liquidation means company in the process of winding up. Here, friends, you have to understand the period subsequent to the date of liquidation shall be excluded. Okay, even if you are holding the shares, since the company is under liquidation, subsequent to the date of liquidation, let us say date of liquidation is January 15, but you are still holding the shares. But company is liquidation date is January 15. From January 15 to till date, this period will be excluded. This will not be considered as a period of holding. So, for the purpose of deciding whether it is a long term or short term, the period subsequent to the date of liquidation shall be excluded. Did you understand this concept?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, when an asset becomes the property of assessee by virtue of section 49(1), that means when his asset is acquired, maybe by gift or inheritance, this kind of situation. Section 49(1), I'll show you later. In that case, what will happen? The period for which capital asset was held by the previous owner. Suppose somebody else already holding the asset for 3 years and it is gifted. Okay, the previous 3 years will also be considered. Right? Let us say it is inherited. Your parents' property inherited by you. The previous holding will also be considered. So the period for which capital asset was held by the previous owner shall also be included in the period of holding. I think you have understood. Third situation is when inventory of the business is converted into or treated as capital asset by an assessee. So there was inventory, stock in trade. When it was stock in trade, it was not a capital asset. But later on, it is converted into capital asset. Then period from the date of conversion or treatment as a capital asset shall be considered. Which earlier it was held as a stock in trade, that will not be considered. But from the period when it is held as stock in trade, from that period of holding will be counted. This third point you have to remember. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Fourth situation, where shares of the Indian company, okay, becomes the property of assessee in lieu of shares held by him in the amalgamating company. Let us say you are holding shares of a company. Company got amalgamated and a new company is formed. And accordingly, you got shares of the new company. Then what will happen? You are already having shares in the old company, now you got shares in the new company. Then period for which share was held by the assessee in the amalgamating company. That means the period for which you are holding shares in the old company, amalgamating company, that shall also be included. Let us say in the earlier old company you are holding shares for 6 years, so that will also be included. Okay, because by virtue of that you are getting new shares. New shares you might have received recently, but your old holding period will be also be considered. Then point 5, where shares of any other security subscribed by assessee on the basis of right to subscribe. Let us say right shares you have received. That means you are already holding some equity shares, and on that basis rights are allotted, you got right shares. Then from the date of allotment of such share or securities shall be recorded. That means from the date when right shares are allotted from that period, we have to calculate the holding period. Okay, let us say rights are allotted to on January 10th. From January 10th, from date of allotment, period of holding will be considered for right shares. Original shares are different, but for right shares, that period shall be considered. The next point, where right to subscribe is renounced. Let us say a right is given to you, but you didn't use that right. You renounce the right in favor of someone else. That means you sold that right to someone else and he encashed it. In that case, the date of offer of such right, when offer was made by the company has given you the right, but you didn't exercise, you transferred it. In that case, from the date of offer, the period of holding shall be counted. But when you are using right yourself, then date of allotment is relevant. But when right is renounced in favor of someone, then not date of allotment, date of offer by the company is relevant, and from that period we will compute the period of holding. Okay, understood?
Yes, sir.
Now, where the financial asset is allotted without any payment, for example, let us say bonus share, then date of allotment of such financial asset shall be reckoned. That means from the date when bonus shares are allotted, that period is from that date we have to compute the period of holding. Next, when the shares of the Indian company being a resulting company become the property of the associate in consideration of the demerger. Let us say company is demerged. Okay, company is demerged and got shares in a new company. In that case, the period for which shares are held by the associate in the demerged company shall be included. That means old company was there, you were holding shares, now it got demerged. Then your old holdings are also be included. Okay, that company was demerged. So the period of holding of shares in the old companies are also be included. Okay. Then two more things you have to remember. Equity shares of the company which becomes the property of the associate by way of conversion of preference shares into equity shares. Earlier preference shares were there, it is later on converted into equity shares. Then what will happen? The period for which the preference shares are held shall also be included. Because the same thing is converted, that will also be included here. Then when swayed securities shares are allotted, then period from the date of allotment or transfer of such specified securities or swayed equity shares are also be recorded. Okay, so when swayed equity shares are allotted to employees or director, so when they are allotted from that date, it will be included. Okay, friends. So these are the specific situations you have to keep in mind. Okay, hope up to this it is clear. Now we know how to consider the period of holding. These 10 situations I told you, they are important for us. You can kindly go through it once again. Okay, so that it will be easier for you to understand in which situation how to compute that period of holding. Is it clear up to this?
Yes, sir.